looked at an ad in the paper and it said, our guys are earning, I don't know, $2,000 a month. Bearing in mind that I was getting 20 bucks a month for that. Well, I decided I was going to stay in, but then it was becoming too demilitarized and it was becoming too civilian controlled. You know, if you chastise an airman, he could write to his mom and his mom would go and see the congressman, not the congressman over there, and then I'd get reprimanded because I was reprimanded their dear little boy because he hadn't cleaned his brass. I believe a military uniform is a military uniform. I believe a military man is a military man, and he should be a military man. Mm-hmm. Until you get into combat, and it's a different thing, but then you still should be a military man. And a lot of the mishaps, I believe, in the American ground war was the fact that there was no discipline in the troops. Somebody once said to me, you don't seem to have any, what they call it, what's your, we're getting wounded, Purple Heart. I said, if you were silly enough to get wounded, your first sergeant or your commanding officer would have you up on a charge as to why you didn't look after government property. You didn't get a medal for getting wounded. You got to chew it out because you let it happen. You didn't do what discipline told you to do. That's why I think a lot of you've got a wonderful army, don't get me wrong. When I was in Germany, I saw proof of that. I lived there for 6 years after the war. But you've got to have, I don't believe that a grunt, a private or a corporal can put his arms around a sergeant and say, "Hi, Joe." Or the sergeant can walk into the office of the commanding officer and say, "Hey, Pete, I've got some information here." No way, I would say. And that's why the British Army throughout the world has always been a top group. Saber rattling. I don't think Argentina will ever go against England again, because look what Margaret Thatcher said. We're coming down and taking over our island. It belongs to us. Argentina said, no, he didn't, and they got the bedazzles beaten right out of them. That a long time after the war, too, for training, British training, which I never got any of because there was no time for it, was fabulous. Then I put guys on a charge, and I said, "Let me see your half-ass, laddie," and they take it out. It was dirty, green, big red, all the key polished front. I had the old man, this is what really turned me off after 18 years. I spent 18 years by the way, 57 I got out. I put some people on charge one day and looked at the charge. He said, quietly of course, "Harry, don't you think you should mother these boys a little bit?" And I said, "Did you say mother or smother?" Because if they break the rule of the military, then they decide they deserve to be charged and punished. But also continually happen. And nowadays in the English military, there's still a lot of it happening, "Oh, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that." That's not for me. You're wearing a uniform. You wear the Queen's uniform, as it used to be.
How was your transition from war to a so-called normal peacetime life?
I didn't know what I wanted to do. You take a person, and this has happened after Vietnam, the guys were fully trained to do something, and when they got back, not only were they didn't know what to do, when they found something, they weren't allowed to do it. The forgotten people, those Vietnamese were. Fortunately in England, we weren't forgotten. We were still part of the people, Churchill said, now can I put it right, never have so many owed so much to so few. The thin blue line. In other words, we were the blue line along the channel to stop the Germans invading us. They got a contingent together twice to invade, and each time we cannot do it whilst they control the sky, and they disbanded it. Initially, I got a job in a grocery store. And this isn't for me. And I looked at an ad in the paper, and it said, our guys are earning, I don't know, $2,000 a month. Bearing in mind that I was getting 20 bucks a month. It did increase a little bit. American company needs sales personnel in Europe. So I thought, boy, cut that in half and then half again, and it's more than I've ever earned. So I went to London. I went early actually. I went on another interview for another job. Then I went to the same day to the interview I had tomorrow. And Artie Novik, I never get his name. He said, "Your interview tomorrow." I said, "I don't believe in putting off to tomorrow what you can do today, because tomorrow never gets here." He said, "Come in." Well, 3 days later, I'm in Munich. I got a job selling cars. What did I know about a car? You did that. And something happened up the front. You did this and the wheels turned. You did that and they went faster, and you went that and you slowed down. That's all I knew about cars. Actually, other than the car, I had more instruments than the Spitfire. I only had 5 instruments in that aircraft. You didn't have to watch all these thousands of lights and things. They just 5 main instruments, and that was it. A couple of incidentals. I gave away the book on the Spitfire production too, and how it was made and why it was made and what it looked like. And my first week, I sold 9 cars. It was to the American military program, a car for when you come back to the United States. So you started paying for it now with an interest on your money, and then when you got to New York, your car was waiting for you. Fabulous program, and they're still doing it today. And then Artie came over and he said, "How many cars have you sold, Harry?" The real booster he was, real booster. And I said, "9." He said, "How many have you delivered?" I said, "None." He said, "You haven't sold a car yet." He said, "You don't make a dime until the tail lights go down the road." I mean, they gave me $300 a month against what I earned. I mean, $300 a month in 57, 58, £200 a month. But I ended up being their top man. I ended up being general manager. I had salesmen all over the world. I was in Vietnam in the Tet Offensive. My headquarters was in Japan. I picked up a secondary job, which I can't talk about, in between, as well as, if you like, used to fly everywhere on Air America whenever I wanted to. That might give you an idea of where, what, and how. And I've sold cars in everywhere throughout the world, practically, where there's an American base. And if my guys didn't sell 30 cars a month, I'd send them home, because that's how easy I considered it. And I used to do it myself. Even when I was in managerial position, I still sold 30, 40 cars a month. Matter of fact, one month I sold, in Germany at the time, I think it was 93 cars in one month. The guys up country, I mean, our salespeople in Vietnam were going up country with the troops, riding them up for when they got back home. Because bearing in mind that until those guys went home and picked up that car, you never got a cent. So maybe only 25% of the orders were delivered. And boy, I tell you what, though, When your troops started coming over there, you breathed a sigh of relief. I know they were overpaid over here and oversexed, but too much money. But God, thank God they did come. Because America, I feel, would have been an occupied country. You say that to a staunch, no way. I'm afraid it would, because there would have been nothing to stop the Germans going over the top. Well, I say nothing to stop them. I mean, there would have been a lot opposing them. And you would have had Japan coming in from the bottom, and you'd have had that big old pincer. And I think this country would have ended up an occupied country. I think history will prove that too.
What advice would you give in general, or specifically perhaps to teenagers, if they were to listen to you?
Well, when I was a teenager, I used to think my stupid, idiot father didn't know what the heck he was talking about. Until I became a father. Then I realized that my father was a very, very knowledgeable, wise man. Yeah, I say this when I go to schools. I say, kids, you know, you don't know how well off you are. You listen to this lady, or you listen to a man teacher. You learn what you can. Because when you get out in that rat race, what are you going to do, sell drugs to make a living? Go line up downtown and get your free food stamps? I wouldn't want to bring my family up that way. And you wouldn't have wanted your parents to bring you up that way. Mm-hmm. In England, all teenagers, the moment they go to work, they contribute to the home. They pay so much for their keep for that home. They don't keep it all. And there are rules. If I say in at 9 o'clock, you'll be in 9 o'clock, even today. Even today. Don't fight authority. Understand it. Believe it. It's been proven for thousands of years that authority works. It's a bore, but it works. So don't cast it aside. Don't think you know more than I know, because you don't. As a matter of fact, when I go to the classroom, you can see immediately who's going to be a problem. And if it's a young man, I walk over to him and I say, I bet you have all the girls chasing you, don't you? Well, if you don't want me to make you look like an idiot, I suggest you behave when I'm talking. That's why the children of today rebel so much. Because they look at their parents, they look at their teachers, they look at the police. What have they got to be frightened of? If they commit a crime, what happens to them?
Nothing. No consequences.
No consequences. Right on. That's it.
That was it.
Okay.
Thanks again for your time.
You're very, very welcome. You're very...
Pleasure for me.